How many people, Congressman Pence, do you estimate will be at the Tea Party rally you're going to tonight in Indianapolis, right?
Well, there's one going on right now, Mike, in Indianapolis, and some of the estimates of the crowd there were in excess of 8,000 going into today. So we'll see what the news reports. But down in my small town of Columbus, Indiana, I got to tell you, at my last town hall meeting, just to give you some idea of what John was talking about, this is a building movement in this country. You know, my town hall meetings usually draw about 30 or 40 people. We had over 300 people just come out on a Monday afternoon to talk about their concern about spending a few months back. I'm thinking there may well be over 1,000 people at Donner Park in Columbus, Indiana tonight. At least it wouldn't surprise me if there was, because I think there are many Americans, like John is saying, that are deeply concerned about the sense that Washington, D.C. is, with its massive increases in spending and bailouts and borrowing and more taxes, is out of step with the values of Republicans, Democrats, and independents across this country.
Okay, so Congressman, the people you know, the people in your district, the people who you will see this evening, they're driven to these rallies by more than just spending. It's an amalgam of things. It's the class warfare aspect, the Wall Street bailouts, the inequity, the seeming inequity. I think that
Mike,
a lot of.
Yeah, Mike, I think it began with the bailouts, and John confirmed that in his case. But you know, when President Bush responded to the economic crisis last year by transferring $750 billion in bad decisions on Wall Street to Main Street, I think Main Street got a jolt. And what's happening today, what's been happening at the grassroots ever since, I think is a growing tidal wave of discontent in this country that knows we can't borrow and spend and bail our way back to a prosperous America. And they're seeing this administration, this majority in Congress, continuing along that vein. And what you're seeing today in all 50 states, Mike, are Americans, good, decent, hard-working Americans that are taking time out of their everyday lives to take a stand for fiscal discipline and fiscal sanity. And I commend John, and I commend every one of the good people here in Indiana that are taking that time as well.
But Congressman, you still run into what I hear, the refrain that I hear a lot, and it's not just on the coastal elites saying it. It's ordinary people saying, in reference to what you just pointed out, but both parties do this. The Republicans ran up a huge deficit, and now the Democrats are running. So, you know, do you link
Mike,
it? Yeah,
Mike,
go ahead. Go ahead.
Mike, let me jump in here.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Two wrongs do not make a right. But it has been boiling up in people, and I think you're going to see politicians reacting to this and say, if we don't listen to the will of the people, we don't rein in big government, we don't rein in spending, many politicians will find themselves out of a job come the next election cycle.
Congressman, do you think...
Mike, here in Indianapolis, for instance, there are no elected officials of either party that are speaking at the biggest rally here in our state. I think the fact that I'm from Columbus, Indiana, the local organizers asked me to come down and bring some closing remarks, but I'm mostly going down there to listen. This is really about the American people speaking to our national government through the peaceful process of protest and demonstration, and I think it can be rightly understood in that vein.
Congressman, let me ask you this question, play devil's advocate here. It seems to me, driving around a couple of days last week, listening to talk radio, that nearly everything that President Obama does engenders an automatic knee-flex response from the conservative wing of the Republican Party, and more than just that, but basically the conservative wing of the Republican Party, no matter what he does, you get a reaction from it, and the reaction is no, we don't care what he does, it's bad because it's Obama. Do you buy into that?
Well, it may be true in some cases, Mike, but I'll tell you, I think, Rush Limbaugh, who gets talked about a lot, I know it was mentioned earlier, I think Rush Limbaugh actually praised President Obama for the decisive leadership that got our ship captain back off the Somalian coast. So, I think the objection here is not knee-jerk. I think the people like John, commentators around the country, those of us who have been fighting on the House floor for fiscal discipline, this isn't about just opposing a Democrat president and a Democrat majority because they're Democrats. It's about opposing runaway federal spending and a mountain range of red ink that's going to have to be dealt with either higher taxes on this generation or higher taxes and a lower standard of living on the next.
John, do you see any one political party benefiting from these rallies more so than another political party?
Absolutely not. These concerns transcend partisan politics. As I said, the last administration, and there are plenty of Republicans that have lost their way when it comes to fiscal responsibility, but what we're seeing now is an unprecedented expansion of the national debt, expansion of the federal government into sectors like GM and AIG that they have no business being involved in. I think today at the rally in Chicago, we had a Democrat, Hillary supporter speak. We had libertarians, we had independents, and the crowd reflected our speaker lineup as well. I think it's something that a lot of Americans are frustrated about, and politicians on both sides of the aisle need to listen up.
Congressman Pence, you've been very consistent throughout your career. I mean, your record is very consistent. What kind of a chance do you think you have of being heard within Congress from the administration largely? Have they reached out to you? Do they listen to you? Do you speak to them? Do they call you? What's the deal there?
Well, the first conversation I had with President Obama was on the inauguration day. He came by our table at the luncheon, and he said to me very sincerely that he respected the stands I'd taken in the past and was anxious to work with House Republicans. I haven't seen the cooperation that I think the President was calling for in either the stimulus bill or the recent budget debate. But I got to tell you, I often say to people, a minority in Congress plus the American people equals a majority. There's no question in my mind, Mike, that as you see these rallies in all 50 states, that John would probably be the first to say, this isn't over today. I mean, I think what you're seeing happen on tax day today with these Tea Parties is just the latest iteration of what is going to be more public expression, more public frustration about runaway federal spending in Washington, D.C. And if that continues, that wind continues to blow, I really believe that we can see the course and direction of government in our nation's capital come together and turn in the direction of fiscal sanity.
Congressman Mike Pence and John O'Hara, thanks very much to both of you. Coming up, the threat of right-wing extremism.